Welcome everyone! Now today, we have to discuss the top 10 scariest surgery stories. Before watching this video, you should hit the like button and subscribe to watch fantastic videos to enhance your knowledge. Scary story number 10. A guy who was undoubtedly homelessly assaulted by Rottweilers, incapacitated, plus they proceeded for eating all the flesh from both legs and another arm as he laid almost dead there. Helpless. Never asked me just how he survived, but he survived that and ultimately made it to the hospital. I would be troubled by the look of just their knee bones undamaged with no skin on it, along with his blood supply being gone. Simple tips for consuming, I assume, but otherwise, his leg bones are the only ones undamaged, utterly free of flash legs gone, of course. Scary story number 9. In 2008, when one of several senior registrars, or I guess the equivalent of resident that is chief, we set of their most unfortunate minutes so that you can possess a patient's mind stabilized for surgery. He was getting a frame that had a couple of 3 spikes that presented the relative mind in position due to the direction he needed seriously to approach from. This required the patient becoming experienced down. We landed on the surge perforating the eyeball, panicking and thinking that his career had been. Today over, as he had been placing the head for the anesthetized client onto the framework, your head slit and his. Then he rather bizarrely began poking during the aisle, trying to work out precisely what had been incorrect until he was told through the anesthetist to avoid. Then they called the ophthalmologist, who emerged to tidy up what was now ruined following the surgery. Terrifying. He visited to show the individual precisely what had occurred. Understandably, fearing the worst, stress and rips he obtained to reaction of, that is okay. I was blind for a reason that eye. Anyway, that's how the whole story finished. Scary story number 8. My dad is only a surgeon. He had been on call one day when a couple was brought into the ER on stretches that evening. One was a cop and one was a criminal. They'd both been in a gunfight, and now both have been shot during the time. The hospital was a small one, and my dad had been the physician that is only called capable of doing the procedure. Both were likely to perish if he did not intervene. He only had time to conserve one. He had selected the glass, and he was able to save his life. Much of the understanding was associated with various other hospital officials. However, the criminal died shortly thereafter. He informed me that he might have made the same choice 1,000 times over, but working with the repercussions of choice was difficult for him regardless. He never regretted that decision. Only a sobering minute when he was a new doctor. Scary story number 7. This story is incredibly unusual when I was the inpatient but awake when it comes to surgery. I became expected to have bump on my back and removed. Now, believe huge, merely a lump of some type or kind for insurance coverage factors. It was carried out by being ambulatory into a hospital's OA instead of the physician's real office. Thus, I'm wide awake, face down in the AOR. I had picked him as my doctor because his main rehearse had been surgery that is plastic the full time. I lifted a whole lot of weights and spent considerable time working my straight back. I desired as many smaller scars as you can. I happened to be vain. He begins with the cut that is first, then goes for an extra larger one, then goes deeper and understands the bump is just the tip that is extruding that cut through my returning to the back of my lung area. He had not been used to operating on notifications clients. Right, he says, oh, that was the start of a 4-time surgery for which I was awake, as he knows. What they cut out of me personally absolutely was the size of an adult vest. In conclusion, the injury they drew in so flash that my right arm became virtually inflexible. Scary story number 6. Reddit users Blow the Candles Away said, we worked as a surgical associate for a maxillofacial dental and doctor. I saw many things, but the one which stands out the most ended up being as soon as we were just about to begin for a huge guy. He was like 6'3" and body weight around 250 pounds. Exceptionally fit, buff man. The man immediately woke up and moved outrageous throughout the beginning of the process. His episode had PTSD. He started pushing, kicking, punching, and screaming. I must inform them. I must assist my fashionscape. I can't leave them behind. He's been shot. All of them killed these. He had been sobbing. There had been above 5 of us who were in that space, and we also could scarcely hold him down before the medical practitioner could provide any type finally of sedative. Ends up what he'd been screaming and occurred to him. It nonetheless gives me goosebumps. Scary story number 5. This story is from their particular brother, who had been an EMT. They said the patient is a male that is obese and extra 500 pounds, unable to lift himself from the couch. He had been in that continuing state for many weeks when they attempted to remove him from the sofa. A massive chunk began to peel away from his body, exposing his muscles and vertebrae. The patient loses consciousness, unable to remove the man from the couch without killing him. They attempt to keep him alive while he is attached to the couch. The fire department is called. They can cut the sofa away and get him into hopefully the hospital intact. Fast forward to the ER, the surgeon determined no simple method to remove him from the couch and save his life. Attempting to eliminate the couch would expose a great deal of his body to the outside, that he would not survive the infections, and which is how that story finished right there if he could survive the surgery. Scary story number 4. This story comes from a Reddit user, Professor Bobo, just who stated I was rounding months being few, and a man gets wheeled into the ICU smelling terrible. We moved over, and the dude had maybe the most massive ranked legs we'd ever seen. There have been things progressing the bed. Additionally, the suction container ended up being filled with maggots. It turns out the dude had been weaving on your way. And when police pulled him over and opened the hinge doors, maggots just dropped out on the trail. He got taken to the ER, arrested, brought to the ICU, and very rapidly debrided. Then above bilateral knee amputation, he managed to get out of the hospital. But I cannot imagine waking up one morning and having no leg. Scary story number 3. At number 3, now we have suntan. This one comes from a Reddit individual who deleted their account at some point. Ideally, it wasn't because of this story. In the past, they stated when you look at the time, and pre-op was completed with alcoholic beverages-based cleaners, naked man. This has undoubtedly sedated a light sheen of cleansing substance on him, and fixed electric spark equaled fully engulfed flames. Everyone else stood there for a second, till somebody grabbed the sheet and put out the flames. The surgery went well, no problems. However, a slight suntan. Now I understand that the entire story seemed very informal, but let us imagine this for a moment. This patient was involuntary regarding the surgery dining table. They caught fire when the cleansing liquid ignited. Scary story number 2. The stone donkey who stated had been buddy by way of an area that is distended his lower back where it indeed got to the point whereby he could hardly stay. So he visits their doctor. However, the doc states like a tower, it's going to the cyst, which we are going to most likely go on and look after that. He informed my buddy about taking their clothes off and lay flat on their stomach. So he is laying indeed there and waiting together with the medical practitioner states, you will feel a poke. And it is at this stage, anticipating a local, really first as it happens, the stab was a scalpel, not a local. He claims it nearly felt like somebody took a fire poker that is hot grow it into their back. He then discovers a doctor exclaim, oh boy, we a pumper in the same way he feels bloodstream that is warm, pus today pouring all over his straight back. The nurse's face was the thing that his only could see, going from a cozy look as to what he termed as pure and unadulterated reasonable, plus the medical practitioner is screaming at her to obtain a gauze and towels. The doctor climbed up and sat on his back again to use stress for approximately 10 full minutes until eventually the bleeding stopped. And lastly, the milliliter one. Scary story number 1. 27 said this happened undoubtedly to me when I had been taught to be described as a cardiologist. I happened to be the third catheterization. Whenever my senior doctor got sick, ripped off his medical dress, and ran out into the room. The doctor only yelled, oh no, and left. I'd place these catheters with wires into the resting customer's hearts, pulsating his heartbeat. A doctor had gotten meals poisoning and made a run for the bathroom, never to get back. And so I've never caused it to be the right point in the process before, and I'm only wondering where to go from here. I haven't been taught just how to take them out safely. I'm looking at the vitals, additionally the screen's like, what do I do today? They paid for my cardiology, which is senior other training, going for a nap and not returning any pages or triggers, no other medical practitioners around. Thank you so much for watching, and please let me know if you liked the video by clicking the like button. Do share a comment, and don't forget to subscribe so that you can catch my next video.